to the Life and Listings podcast. I have Chase Whitney here. Hey, Chase.
Hey, how's it going? Happy to be here.
Pretty good. I'm so happy to have you. And so for all of our listeners, some may know you, some may not. Tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and what you do.
Yeah, I am a small family team lead here in Orange County, California. My parents started in the business in 96. I've been with our current brokerage since 2000. I joined on in 2012. And be honest, it took me 5-6 years to really kind of settle in and kind of feel comfortable in the industry, in the business. But, the last 3, 4, 5 years has really been where I found my home with tech, found my home with what I'm doing, and really confident in all these avenues with it. We have a handful of agents that work with us, but again, small family team. We do operate very much like solo agents that work together versus, you do this, I'll do that kind of thing. So it's a little bit of a different model. But no, we do, 30, 40 million a year and consistently, but we'll talk about some tech stuff, but very big geographic farmers. We knock ourselves, door knock, or drop ourselves, past clients, via referrals. Those are kind of the big sources, but the technology piece is more so kind of what fuels it versus kind of takes over.
And you're known for a lot of your events too, right? I've seen you posting about a lot of your different events.
We've done them for so long, but there's a lot of people that either don't or we're asking about it. But yeah, we do contests throughout the year, about 6 to 7 of those for various back to school, Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, Father's Day. Pumpkin pie is our biggest one. That has become it took over for our client appreciation event that we used to have during Christmas time. When COVID hit, we canceled the first one, just, that first year. And then our pumpkin pie event just completely skyrocketed to now we're giving away 160 pies over the course of like 2.5 hours. And it's just a complete zoo. It's awesome. But yeah, that's another big angle of our kind of our retention and just, notoriety in the area. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's a lot of pie and a lot of like a very short period of time.
That's a lot of work. It is so much fun though. Yeah, we love it.
Well, let's dive into your tech stack. You're known for your tech stack and you kind of integrating a bunch of different tools. So, for a team lead or a broker owner that wants to kind of implement, let's talk about what you're using.
Yeah. So, real quick, the philosophy is a little bit different than what I think a lot of folks have either become accustomed to or maybe think that they are looking for is I don't think that in many cases, the all-in-one type platforms are really going to give you the best results. And oftentimes they aren't even going to save you money. So what I set out to do about 2022 or so was really kind of break apart what I was using and kind of perfect each avenue of what the product provided. The piece that has not changed is Follow Boss, and that is the core of the business. That's called the nucleus. That's kind of where everything comes back to. And I'm on record saying that if it doesn't integrate with Follow Boss, I pretty much lose interest. So it has to have some sort of way to bring it back to home base. But what I found was that most agents, whether you're super into tech or just running a normal business, old school type of business, is you have there's 4 core avenues and then a bonus one. So for us, it was the CRM. You have to have some sort of IDX or nurture product to continue to send properties to your clients. You have to have some way to generate leads and or remarket to them, social specifically. And then you have to have a website. A nice, whether you call it a digital brochure or a digital business card or somewhere you can provide value to your clients, both locally and anywhere they're looking at you from. You have to have some way to provide a nice showpiece. So the pieces that I put together, partially because of how well they integrate with Follow Up Boss, but also because in my estimation and research at the time, but then also in practice for the last 1.5 years, almost 2 years, are just the best options out there. And it was Agent Fire for our website, Street Text for our lead gen and remarketing. And then Real Scout is our home value alert, property nurture, IDX on steroids, if you will. But those 3 pieces with the Follow Boss integration have just been total game changers.
So how many different tools did you test out before you came up with those 4?
Don't ask me that. So I going back to the CRM. So take Follow Boss for example. And I was the one that caused all the headache and the pain. But when I joined on in 2012, even with my parents' team, if you will, just the 3 of us, I brought a little bit of not tech background, but I had bands and I would do all the marketing for the bands I was in and that kind of thing. And so I had a little bit of software knowledge, and we changed CRMs. I'm thinking now in the first 7 years of me being in the business, we changed CRMs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 5 times. So it was so painful because you get hit by so many different companies and, oh, we can do this one thing. And it's like, oh, I will have to do one thing. Well, but then I'm going to blow up everything else to get access to this one little thing that may not even work in the way I want to do it. So that was very, very painful. On the other stuff, I bounced around handfuls of each, either personal use cases. I've seen access to to accounts through friends or colleagues, or demos or videos. I mean, I'm the guy that researches everything. Like when I go to buy a car, I know more about the car than the salesman does.
Yeah.
The trims and all the add-ons and doodads. Like, so when I make a change, it's like I've sold myself on it versus heard the demo and the shiny presentation. But many is the short answer to your first question.
I know. I'm like, I know that because I'm that person, right? I do all the demos. I test all the different things. And I'm like, man, sometimes you just have to try a few things out and see what works for your own personal usage. And for you, obviously, is that really one of your main factors is like, I will use the product if it integrates with Boss really well?
Well, like it has to come back, right? Because I mean, I didn't coin this phrase, but I live by it. If it didn't happen in Follow Up Boss, it didn't happen at all. So the logic behind that is you have to have some place to call home, right? Some place to hold all of your communications, all of your notes, all of your transactional tasks, everything, to where you have one source of truth or one spot where it all lives. So if the IDX vendor or partner doesn't push the activity back into Follow Up Boss at minimum, let alone the power-ups that a company like Girl Scout has built, I mean, you have to have it in one spot. I don't think a solo agent or a team member is going to want to go chase down information in 7 different platforms if it doesn't sync to one. And that was kind of the...
Yeah, we're 1,000% in agreement there. Like when we're building out stuff for any of the teams that we manage, I try and like get my team lead or my broker owner to like hone in. I'm like, think about the adoption of your agents and if they're going to actually use it. You only want them going to one place. And it needs to go on their cell phone. It needs to be in one place. If it's not in the one place, they're not going to open the 50 tabs like we have open as the owner generally. And it frustrates them. So for the people that are listening that don't know what these programs do, can you give us kind of like the brief synopsis on what each of these tools does for you?
Sure. Let me try to go in order from what I mentioned earlier. So we're skipping Follow Up Boss. I think I would assume most folks know that's your, basically it's your CRM only, right? Which is to their benefit, right? They focus on one thing and one thing only and do it better than anybody else. Everything else, so Agent Fire website, branded website, they do have an IDX product that we use for some front-facing searches, but what I fell in love with there was a mixture of course, design and how pretty the sites are and the cost, because it's all back to our P&Ls, but some of their unique power-ups that I had not seen to the extent that they offered. The two that I'll share are their area guides, which are just hyperlocal microsites for any zip code, city, county, specific neighborhoods. If your area is big on neighborhood specific, mine really isn't for our current market. But these are auto-created, AI updated. There's a Yelp integration to showcase local restaurants that you can also update to your favorite restaurants and bars and gyms and restaurants and that kind of thing. Market stats. There's a call to action for market reports, but they're all done automatically, and then they just live on your site, and you can backlink to any of them without getting too techy. The other one is their call to action platform called Engage, and without it's a little too techy to share really, but I mean just the way that you can customize what pops up, what's locked down based on either the page itself or a temporary hashtag you add to a URL to where, hey, I want this website visible to everybody for free, right? Or if the traffic is coming from a specific email that I send, I want this specific video to pop up in the corner saying, thanks for clicking on my email. Welcome to this property, yada, yada, yada. Like those couple of things is just so incredibly powerful. But at the end of the day, it's still the best blend of cost efficiency and then design with these power-ups, and their AI stuff is just getting insane, but we don't have time to talk about that right now.
We'll have to have you back to talk about it.
Yeah, for sure. So Street Text, great sync to follow boss. It's all their Facebook partner. It's all social at this time, but the ways they're able to kind of hack the Facebook algorithm with respect to targeting, because we know that we can't target beyond a 15-mile radius. That's it. Right before, 10 years ago, I could go in there and say, hey, under 40 years old, likely to move, pregnant, makes more than 200 grand a year. Like, that's my audience. Well, good luck.
Yeah.
So what their way around that is what's called a 3-ad split. And so how it was explained to me is that they're going to create, if you want, up to 3 ads at the same time. So Facebook grabs this audience for ad number 1, this audience for ad number 2, and this audience for ad number 3. And then within, in my experience, 6 to 8 hours, I can tell which of those 3 ads peg the right audience and then funnel the money to that one ad. So I've been able to drive my cost per lead down, which before on Facebook, even in Orange County, higher cost per lead, very competitive. We were in about 7.25 per Facebook buyer lead. And if I'm north of $4 now, I'm changing something. So I've been able to cut my cost per lead almost in half and get better quality leads because of that. And then the remarketing on there is syncs to follow bots. So you can, if you want to, remarket everybody with specific ads. You can divide them up based on stages and tags and this kind of thing. So I can show buyer content to this group, seller content to that group, hot buyer content to this group. You can really get granular if you want to, but from a cost savings mindset, they're bundles. So I can now take 5 remarketing ads, and versus spending $1 a day for each of them and you're at $5 a day forever, I can have those 5 ads rotating once a day. So it's $1 a day for this ad, then tomorrow's this ad, then this ad, then this ad. So it's $1 a day, but the content cycle. And it's so powerful because now you're getting fresh content daily or weekly versus everything all at once. Saving you money and then getting better response because the seller or the consumers aren't bored by your stuff.
Yeah. Or you having to go manually change it often, right?
Brutal. So those 2 things, and then that deep integration of all of bots, phenomenal. And the last one, Real Scout, may have heard of them, probably have heard of them at this point. It's just a complete MLS killer, IDX killer. It's technically a VOW or virtual office website, which essentially is a one-to-one integration to the MLS with every single field that the MLS has. IDX typically has pretty watered down filters to like the most common 10 or whatever it is. But I mean, I can go into Real Scout and create searches based on how many stories there are, buyer's agent, a listing agent, MLS ID. I have a list of agents I like to work with. Hey, here's that search. I can get really granular there. The speed from MLS to populating in Real Scout is right there with Redfin, right there with Zillow. So your consumers aren't waiting 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 hours for their listings to hit the market. And then there's so many collaborative tools in there to increase engagement, and the sync to follow boss is again phenomenal. 2-way sync, instant, and it's just a great tool.
So with all of those tools, was it hard to get the rest of your team to adopt all of this tech?
Great question. No, because the lead generation or marketing I do, right? They're not touching any of that. All they see is what have they clicked on and when to call them. The website, they have their own microsites, but they've not found the need to go in and update or change. So again, all that content is done by me and my assistant. But it's already been built. So now it's just, again, updating content with, blog posts and that kind of thing versus drastically change things all the time. And then Real Scout, no, because again, the integration is so fast that by the time a lead comes in, if the agent in front of the computer and clicks on that lead within 10 seconds, they're already in Real Scout. So that account's already been created. Yeah. So it's faster than the MLS because now they just click a link, update their search versus go to the MLS, create a saved client, add the email, add the phone number, update the search, save the search, and then you have no data back in the follow boss and see what they're looking at. So the benefit too for the agent is, since it is a full MLS grade tool, as the agent now, if I go into Follow Boss, top right corner is the activity feed where you can see all the houses and blog posts they've looked at. Well, I can click on a property from their Follow Boss record, get to the agent view on Real Scout, and then get the listing agent's information, phone number, email, send them an email, see showing instructions, where to send the offer. So I'm not in the MLS nearly as often as I used to be, unless I'm looking into like, a full CMA or something like that. But just looking up some houses to show or where to set an offer, it's so much faster.
Yeah.
So much faster.
So your agents are like almost strictly just going to their follow-up boss and working out of there. They're not having to learn all these.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nope. Okay. And there's a link right in the first custom build that I have in follow-up boss to pull right into the Real Scout profile. Or the Real Scout account for that lead.
Yeah.
So it's blazing fast. I mean, I'm pretty quick at these things. So I can update their search for them or tweak it while the phone's ringing for that first phone call. Like, it's that quick to do.
Yeah.
So again, the benefit far outweighs any sort of hesitation on that.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, because you're our tech guru, what upcoming tech are you excited about? I mean, I know there's so many different things with like AI and stuff going on right now. Which tool are you excited about?
Yeah, AI. That's a pretty hot button one. So there's a company that I'm working with to kind of get them off the ground or get them, integrated with Follow Boss and going. It's called Smart Alto. They've been around for a while, but what they're working on right now is an AI-powered data enrichment to where, lead comes in from Facebook or PPC or an open house. You have their name and a phone number, maybe an email, but no address, don't know where they live, don't know if they own or they rent. Smart Alto plucks them out of Follow Boss, backfills everything they can find on them with renter versus owner, age, time in the house, price they paid, mortgage rate, mortgage balance, bed, bath, square footage, pool, stories, all of the basic criteria that you could want to reverse prospect for your own database and or uncover sellers, and then push it back to Follow Boss. And then the nice thing is when the address gets pushed into Follow Boss, Real Scout picks up instantly and sends them a home valuation alert. So in my testing in the last, it's been about 3 weeks of kind of playing with, maybe 4 weeks of playing with this and really kind of working the kinks out of like 90% Facebook buyers, some open house leads and some PPC leads. I'm getting about a 28% own a house in California out of a buyer lead that I can now nurture with seller content. And then again, when they engage in any of the Real Scout seller valuation tools, then with KTS's build out and Follow Boss, it automates out all the seller nurture. So now I'm uncovering sellers among my low cost to entry buyer leads. I'm super, super jazzed. And then we can build smart lists around age, time in the house, sort by the price. So now of these 176 sellers that I found, I can now dive into, hey, here are the 6 people that NAR says are going to sell because they're between this age group, they've owned the house this long, et cetera, et cetera. And you're really kind of creating your own seller lists. Yeah, automated and almost instantly. So that's the one I'm probably most excited about. I mean, I've seen all the AI tools and the AI texting and the AI calling. Like, that stuff scares me a bit. I'm not too sure how I feel about that down the road. Yeah. But this one, because it's so tangible and made such a quick impact on my business, that one I'm definitely most excited about.
100%, because I think a lot of us are doing that. We're either doing it manual ourselves,
yep,
not doing it at all, just calling it a junk lead, or we're paying VAs $4 or $5 an hour to do that. So it's like a no-brainer. I think that's pretty exciting.
Well, you're basically automating the skip tracing of all of it. And the data I've found has been pretty darn good. And then again, even if you have a renter, well, then we can automate them into a renter drip campaign.
Yeah.
And or get them off the fence too. So either way you slice it, it's a pretty powerful thing. And the nice thing is the integration of the follow-up. So it doesn't matter who you use for lead gen or who you're going to use for your seller nurture valuation alerts. I mean, you can automate everything. So this sits kind of in the middle of whatever tech stack you might be using. I mean, I do the best, obviously, because I like it for me. But it almost doesn't even matter because this can power up, again, even if they're open house lead and you don't spend $1 on social or Google or YouTube or anything. Well, just enrich the 17 open house leads from last weekend and find the 7 people that own their house, get their address, and mail them a handwritten note. I mean, it's pretty powerful. And again, it's just a time saver at that point.
Love it. I need to try that one. So you tell me when it's like ready to go, and I want to test that out with a few different of our teams.
Definitely.
All right, we're gonna pivot and we're gonna ask one of our normal questions. So, What is the funniest thing that has ever happened to you in real estate?
let me give you a funny, weird one. Funny, weird one. So I was really green. So this was probably 2013, maybe a year in the business, year and a half in the business, showing some of our really close friends some property in a so-so area. Particular neighborhood was not the greatest pocket. House, again, it was a fixer, but we go in, vacant house, empty, completely empty, but there was an area rug in the living room, kind of odd. In the corner of the area rug, I don't know, about a foot in from the corner, was a big, like a lump. Like just something went under there. It could have been a sock or, whatever, or a shoe. But naturally, as inquisitive as I am, I go over and immediately lift up the rug and find out what it is. It's a giant butcher knife under the corner of an area rug in a vacant house, in a rundown house, in a mediocre neighborhood. It was, so yeah, more weird and creepy than funny, but it was enough to be like, huh, probably shouldn't be. There was no knife block in the kitchen, right? Like, all right.
It just makes you wonder, like, what made that knife get there? And was it a joke, or were you in an actual crime scene?
And just be a fly on the wall for a week prior to that day.
Probably not. You probably don't want to be. Honestly, this stuff that we just see in real estate is just nuts.
Yeah. That's my good one. I don't know how I hear all the stories. I don't have any like that outlandish, like, the someone was in the shower. I don't have any of those more crazy ones, but this one was wild. Yeah.
But I mean, lucky you. I feel like I have a few wonky ones and I feel like most of them happen, or maybe the more memorable one happen when you're first started in real estate, maybe because you're like scarred from it and you're like, wow, oh my God, what do I do in this situation? I'd be like, if you have one.
You want one more? I just remember this was funny and just scared the living crap out of me. So I was also green, and this was like months into me starting, not even years, months. I picked a farm, and there was 128 houses, and entry level for our city. And my parents, to their credit, had a great idea. They said, "Hey, help me build this farm. We want you to go take pictures of all of the absentee owner properties in the farm, and then we're gonna." So 2012, we were gonna we mail merge them or print a picture, tape it to the letter. And the campaign we were going to mail to the 17 absentees was, have you seen your rental lately? Essentially, here's the condition kind of thing. If you thought about making the move or thought about cashing out. So I go through the farm. I have my list of houses to take pictures of. And I go and get a picture, drive by, get down the one cul-de-sac, stop in front of it, quick picture, move on, go to the next street. And this green Ford Bronco screams around the corner. And I mean, flies around the corner, pulls up right next to my driver's side window. And I'm, 25 years old, very new in the business, didn't know what to say. He comes up, "What are you doing taking a picture of my house?" I said, well, I understand you rent the house. I forget what I said. It scared the daylights out of me. And needless to say, I stopped the pictures at that point. But the funny part of it, that was a scary part. The funny part of it is got to know him over the years, and he was not the nurse that helped deliver my daughter, but worked in the same hospital. And we bumped into him several times during delivery 7.5 years ago, just in the elevators and stuff, and we're catching up. But it went from pretty scary to, he became something of a pretty good client at that point. But that was a wild one.
Funny. And it kind of reminds me, like, in those situations, you are taking pictures of people's homes, right? Like,
yeah.
You have to be aware that you might be scaring somebody.
Yeah.
And to kind of be
I'm not a repo man.
Right, exactly. And he's just like, "John, what are you doing?" And you're like, "Oh my God." And there's so many different ways you could have taken that. I mean, I probably would have like sped off personally.
Yeah. I was so like freaked out. Again, I don't remember all of it. I just remember him screaming on the corner, getting in my face about it, and I'm like, "Sorry, I'll delete it. Watch here, click."
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Anyways, those are my two ones, and they're both from when I was very green. Right.
See, I'm telling you, it most always happens when you are like new in the business, because I think it probably over time those same things would happen to us. We just don't care anymore because we're used to it. But in the beginning, you're like, "This is the worst day of my life."
or you know how to approach it, how to get around it, or whatever. 100%. But no, you're right. And those probably stick with you longer because they were when you were first getting started and your career or whatever it is, and you're like, "Oh my God, it's been 6 months and I've already been accosted by a guy on my farm and then found a butcher knife under a rug." Like,
Stop it. Oh my God. Like, what am I getting myself into? What have my parents been doing for years? Well, Chase, this has been great having you on pod. This has been so much fun. We're going to have to get you back on for more tech insight in the future. If anybody wants to reach out to you and get more information about anything you shared or just send you a referral, where's the best place for them to reach you?
Yeah, so I'll give you two on tech stack stuff, technology. I have a guide, an ebook that I put together kind of explaining that stack, and that you can get at consultwithchase.com, consultwithchase.com. On referral, contact me there for anything really, but for referrals, anything to do with the real estate business itself, our website is the number 4 realestatehelp.com, and that's our agent fire, front-facing consumer site. But take a look at both, and happy to chat.
Awesome. Thanks. Well, thanks for coming on, and have a great day.
This was so fun. Thanks, Jennifer.